What's up, guys? It is finally time to review the Leprechaun series because I've been a horror channel for a little bit over 4 years and I haven't gotten to them yet at all. And St. Patty's Day is coming up. St. Patty's Day is my favorite, well, I can't say my favorite day of the year. I mean, Halloween, that's a no-brainer. And I think I might like Christmas a little bit better. But St. Patty's Day, it's in the top 3 probably. And yeah, these are just horror films that I've never talked about, so might as well start because I remember watching the first one when I was quite young, like for my sake, because I wasn't allowed to watch too many horror movies, but I think I was like 14, 15 when I watched the first one. And I'd never seen any of the others until my adult life, so the other ones came to me afterwards. Of course, I saw them at the video store, but I never just really got around to renting them or anything like that. But the first one with Jennifer Aniston, which when I watched it when I was a kid, I didn't even really recognize her as the huge star that she was. Looking back on it now in my adult life, it's really because of how far she's made it. You look at her in a horror movie and you're like, holy shit, like that's an amazing start, in my opinion. And I even made this post on Instagram and Snapchat that, about why certain actors or actresses are like embarrassed of where they started and where their roots were. Like, why? Like, she didn't become a scream queen, but she killed it in the role, in my opinion, and she did really well in the role. So what's there to be embarrassed about? I know that Leprechaun's a B movie. I know that it's no Hereditary. It's no freaking... What's another fantastic horror movie that everybody... It's no Exorcist. It's no Silence of the Lambs. It's just a silly, dumb B movie that's awesome. I don't know where the embarrassment comes from, but Jennifer Aniston does not like talking about the fact that she stars in the first film, even though she is absolutely gorgeous in the first film and really... makes it into, like, I don't think this film would go very far. I mean, I don't think this film would go as far as it did if it wasn't for her performance, is what I'm trying to get at. Because there's other things. There's Warwick Davis. He's amazing. Like, there's other things behind it. It's not just Jennifer Aniston. But she was a big part of it. And like I said, I would own it personally. But the film wastes no time kicking it off in a B-movie kind of format. It shows the Leprechaun in this cellar-looking place. Like, there's a bunch of like stone stairs and like steps, and he's just saying some rhymes kind of thing. And then you got Leprechaun right on the screen, so it just goes for it. And then you have this guy. He's taking a limo home. He gets out of the limousine, chugs some Irish whiskey, Jameson, and he goes home to his wife. His wife's waiting for him on the porch. The wife's like, what the hell are you doing? Because apparently this guy was supposed to go to Ireland and bury his mother. And then he shows up in a limo. So his wife's like, what are you doing, O'Darby? And he's wasted, and he's like, he brings this like, this urn of ashes, and the wife's like, I thought you were supposed to bury your mother. And he's like, don't worry, we are rich, filthy rich. He gives the limo driver like however much money, and the wife's like, what the hell are you doing, man? And he destroys the urn, and then the urn is filled with gold. He's like, we struck it rich, we've gold. Little does he know that the leprechaun followed him home in the suitcase that he took with him, and the wife, she hears something in the suitcase, and this leprechaun can imitate voices, so it imitates a child. And then she finds the leprechaun in the suitcase, and the leprechaun, shows up and murders the woman by pushing her down the stairs. The opening, it definitely reminded me of Child's Play 2, because in Child's Play 2, when he's murdering the one family in the basement and pushing them down the stairs, that's the vibe I got. That's when it came to the cinematography. Sorry, my notes. It's just a very funny opening when the guy, he puts the leprechaun in this crate in the basement, and then he finds a 4-leaf clover. I don't know how he got it, like, a hold of the 4-leaf clover. It kind of just, he found it somewhere. And the leprechaun is kind of, I wouldn't say allergic, but 4-leaf clovers are dangerous to the leprechaun. It could kill him, basically. So he puts the leprechaun in the crate, and he puts this 4-leaf clover on the crate, and then he dumps a bunch of gasoline on the crate, and he lights the match, and then he's like, burn in hell, you little green bastard. But immediately after I think he has a stroke. It looked like he had a heart attack, but as the movie goes forward, it says he has a stroke. And the match goes out, and he does not destroy the Leprechaun. However, the Leprechaun is still stuck in there for 10 years. 10 years later, we have this family moving into this O'Grady's house. Jennifer Aniston is the daughter. She plays Tori, and she's moving in with her dad. And I love the drive that she has there. She's like, she says something about New Mexico. She's like, why does New Mexico have to be so dry or something? And the dad's like, this is not New Mexico. This is North Dakota. And she's like, whatever, it's not LA. I'm like, I know like Americans pretty much usually, they're experts in America, but they don't know anything else like outside of America. Generally, that's like the stereotype anyway. But I guess people from LA don't know anything else outside of LA, because if you're American and you can't tell the difference between New Mexico and North Dakota, I don't know what to tell you. I'm fucking Canadian, and I'm like, North Dakota, New Mexico, like way different places. But I found that line hilarious. It just builds up her character kind of thing, and I like how they play with her character. Like, she's definitely a city girl. She's walking around the farm with high heels, and she's just deathly afraid of spiders. Lo and behold, they get there, and there's some painters that were hired, and I like the name of the painting company. It's Three Guys That Paint. There you go. And we're introduced to this guy named Nathan, and I love Jennifer Aniston's character Tori's introduction to Nathan. She's walking out of the house because she just wants to get the hell out of Dodge because she sees a spider, and then she bumps into Nathan and knocks over his paint thinner, and then she's just like, okay, will this cover it? And she just whips out $20, like, will this cover the damages, whatever I've done? And he's like, well, you just bumped into me and you knocked over my paint thinner, and now you're offering me money? And she's like, okay, $40, how's that? And he's like, how about just an apology, maybe? Here's this rich girl just like giving him money kind of thing. Their whole interaction I found hilarious. And then we're introduced to the other two painters, Ozzy and Alex. And Alex is this little, like, seemingly like 12-year-old-ish. He's been in other films. I looked him up. He's been in films that I haven't seen, but he's been in some kids' movies, so he's a 90s kind of child actor. And then we have Ozzy, like in a future film that I will be discussing. He comes back as a returning character, but Ozzy is this kind of slow acting, kind of like Nimwad, kind of dumb in a sense character. He's not really the comic relief. He's kind of like the sympathetic, cute guy that you kind of root for in a like innocence kind of way. Like, and his relationship with Alex is interesting because in a general sense you would find it kind of odd and weird in a sense that, you know, this like guy who looks like he's in his 30s who's a little bit slow is hanging out with this 12-year-old kid. But it plays with that relationship differently because you completely understand why they have a connection to each other and why they have a friendship. Like, they really bounce off with each other, and there's a scene where the kid completely, like, wholeheartedly is like, this is when they find the gold. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but he's like, now we're so rich and we can go to the doctor and we can get you a new brain so you can be super smart. And Ozzy's just like, well, I'm smart. And the kid's like, well, yeah, sort of, but we can make you like really smart so people won't make fun of you. And Ozzy's like, they make fun of me? And he's like, innocently again, he's like, no, not in front of you, just behind your back. Like, he doesn't mean any harm by saying that, but. And I like how they did that with the whole, with creating those characters and writing those characters, because they really carry the film forward in really fun ways. But the Leprechaun is released again because Ozzy goes downstairs to the basement and he hears the Leprechaun do another imitation of a voice, and then the four-leaf clover gets off the crate, and then the Leprechaun comes out. Rewatching this film, I definitely realized that logic definitely has to be thrown out the window when it comes to this film. So if you need logic in your movies, you're not gonna like the Leprechaun series, because you just have to go with shit and you just have to like play along with it kind of thing. One thing the Leprechaun does is imitate voices, but he can also teleport to wherever the hell he wants many times throughout the film, and you're just kind of like, okay, so this Leprechaun is very superhuman and supernatural, so why is he constantly getting himself into trouble if he can do so much? Like, you know what I mean? I understand the four-leaf clover thing, but there's other things that, because he can teleport so easily and because he can imitate voices so easily, it's like he could be doing a lot more damage than he does, but you know, it is what it is. So they find this, there's this really cheap rainbow effect, and then Ozzy and Alex are drawn to this old car, and then they get to the old car, and then the gold just like literally appears there. And then they find this bag of gold, and they're like, holy shit, gold. And then Ozzy takes a piece of gold and, like, for whatever reason, puts it in his mouth and swallows it. So he swallows this coin, and it integrates itself into the plot, because when the Leprechaun is looking for all his gold, he's missing one piece of gold, and lo and behold, it's in Ozzy's stomach. How you swallow a piece of gold accidentally, I don't... B movies, okay? Just go with it, like I said. And, Alex and Ozzy take one piece of gold to go analyze it, see what this is, this bag of gold that they just found, to this gold expert. And the gold expert says, like, okay, I'm going to keep it overnight, and I'm going to study it, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. First of all, I wouldn't trust the guy, because if you're holding onto a gold piece and you're just like, here you go, and the guy's like, oh, trust me, you know, I'll just hold on to it. I'm like, nah, I need some kind of contract in that, because I wouldn't be giving that gold piece to this random Poppin' Mom's currency shop, whatever the hell he owns, that could be worth a fortune. So, and then Leprechaun teleports to this store owner's safe and comes out of the safe, and then there's one of the most memorable kills in the Leprechaun franchise, the pogo stick kill, where I remember this one as a kid, and as a kid it grossed me out actually, but watching it as an adult, it's definitely cheap, and it's definitely filmed very, poorly is the wrong word, but very, very B-movie, very non-scary, very silly kind of thing. But he just hops on the guy, and he, like, with the pogo stick, and he starts rhyming again, and the pogo stick is like hitting his chest. As a kid, like, I could feel like a pogo stick on a chest and like how much that would hurt. But, and as an idea, it's horrific, but execution, the way it's executed, not so much. At one point, the Leprechaun gets arrested, or, well, pulled over by the police officer, because another thing that the Leprechaun can do in this entire film is make go-karts, like custom-made go-karts that just come out of nowhere, and there's no explanation on how they're built. He just has this cart that he just starts driving. So again, it's just one of those things that appears. And he gets pulled over by the police, and then he's having this whole like chase scene in the forest where the cop he's messing with the cop, and the cop is trying to get at him. And it's played very Evil Dead style. I like how they did like the camera moving through the forest. I think it was Evil Dead inspiration, at least I would assume, because Evil Dead came out not too long before. And I think they used that camera running through the forest idea with this scene. At least I got a lot of vibes from that. The Leprechaun mentions that he's 600 years old, and I'm bringing this up because continuity-wise, this franchise sucks, okay? And timelines do not match up, but again, these are the kind of films that you're just supposed to go with. So when they get back to the farmhouse, I do love the farmhouse setting and everything. Ozzy decides to call the police, and not only is Ozzy known for being kind of a dimwit around town, but Ozzy decides to call the cops and just blatantly tell the truth that there's a leprechaun attacking their farmhouse, and that cops need to show up to take care of the situation because this leprechaun just came out of the basement. And of course the cops are like just not having any of it. Then the leprechaun, I don't know if it's the same cop that he killed in the forest, but he uses the cop's like radio, and he imitates a voice again, playing the cop that was just murdered. I forget what he says to the precinct at the station, but it's something to not come over, or everything is fine. Or, like, I think he says like, oh, everything's fine over here, no problems whatsoever. You know, I'll let you know if anything goes on, kind of thing, to keep the precinct away from the farmhouse. And then, you know, all havoc breaks loose. Nathan tells Alex to go find a shotgun, which he does. And there's a few times where, like, the leprechaun is blasted away with the shotgun, which is cool looking, but not enough to necessarily destroy the Leprechaun. But I like how they, I like the whole like cat and mouse situation that happens in the third act of the film in the farmhouse, because like I said, it's a really great setting, and they do the cat and mouse thing really well. Like there's this scene involving the Leprechaun inside cupboards, and they're opening the cupboards one by one. They're like, should have gone for this one. It just gets really goofy with the B-moviness and stuff. There's this skateboard scene where the Leprechaun is going back and forth on a skateboard, and for whatever reason, the sounds he's making sound very like monkey-like. It sounds like he's like a chimpanzee or something. And then he's able to put his voice into the telephone and make it completely supernatural, where at one point Tori yanks it off the wall and throws it on the ground, and then it's completely unplugged with the receiver like off the phone, and then it rings anyway, and then she picks it up again and it's the Leprechaun's voice. So again, it gets very supernatural, very out of this world kind of thing. There's a part really quick in the third act too where Tori goes to the hospital to visit Mr. O'Grady, who used to live in the house after having a stroke. He was apparently in this hospital, and she goes there, and they decide to do this like camera change where the camera starts to go a little bit more on a slant, and it starts to feel a little bit more like sinister horror movie kind of thing. But she gets to O'Grady's room, and it's extremely obvious that you know it's the Leprechaun sitting on the chair, not O'Grady, because all you see is the back of his head, and he starts talking, and Tori thinks it's Mr. O'Grady, but it's clearly not. And then they have this whole chase scene in the hospital, and then the real Mr. O'Grady, for whatever reason, ends up in the elevator, but like on top of the elevator. So he comes bursting down when Tori is in the elevator from the top of the elevator, and he's just hanging there, and he's telling Tori like this whole like lure of how to destroy the Leprechaun. Find a 4-leaf clover and then you can destroy the Leprechaun, as he's hanging on the roof of an elevator. And these directions, I don't know like why they chose to specifically go with these kinds, but B-movies, it is what it is. So the whole end of the film, they're like desperately trying to find a 4-leaf clover, and they're just digging and digging and digging. So they're finally able to catch one, and they have this 4-leaf clover, and after taking a numerous of shotgun blasts, the Leprechaun, finally Alex, the kid, comes up with a brilliant idea and wraps the 4-leaf clover into some kind of like, not really a bullet, but some kind of rock probably. And he loves his slingshot, so he's really good with the slingshot. And then there's the famous line, "Hey, Lep, fuck you, Lucky Charms." And probably everybody knows that line specifically from the original Leprechaun film, outside of like, it's probably that scene and the fact that Jennifer Aniston is in it that most people know about the original Leprechaun film. And then the thing just starts melting and is pushed down the well that's in the farmhouse, and then falls down the well, but it starts to climb up again, kind of reminiscent to Chucky. I guess because they're playing with a leprechaun, they wanted to make some reminiscence to Chucky, but it's still its own separate thing. It doesn't rip off anything from Child's Play, but you can see some things, especially in atmosphere, that are there. And this last scene where he's all melted and he's coming up the well, and then Nathan just kicks him back down and dumps a bunch of gasoline into the well, and then throws a match and blows everything up. And then finally the cops come at dawn. Like literally the sun's rising and then the cops show up. Like cops showing up at the last minute of every single time. Just happens all the time. All the time. And that's it. So it's a cool movie. It's got some cool effects. I forgot to mention this one scene with where the leprechaun gets his hand chopped off on a door, and then the hand itself starts to like go up on the door and open the door to let the leprechaun through. And it's stop motion. At least it looked stop motion. So I like that. At least we're not dealing with too much CGI in here. There is CGI, and it completely looks cheap because this is back in the day when CGI was just not perfected. So I'll always say, and I'm repeating myself, but practical effects are where it's at. So the whole stop motion hand, I really found that cool. And it has a lot of cool scenes. It has a lot of fun scenes. This film is just fun. It's a film you put on, especially at a time like St. Patrick's Day, and you just have fun with it, man. A lot of people say the first one is the best. It's one of them, yeah, for sure. I'll give my thoughts on the rest as they come. There's some terrible ones, and there's one in particular I dread rewatching. Let's just put it that way. But the first one, it's a classic just for being fun. It's a fun, stupid B movie that's so fun. So there you go. We're almost at St. Paddy's Day, so go find these movies somewhere, go find them streaming, and have a good time with them, because that's what they were designed for. And subscribe to Morgan Film Van if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming until next review. Have a good one. Take care and cheers.